right.
Splits, guys. So workout splits.
What are they?
Well, we all know you got bro splits, you got full body splits, you got, once a month splits. But we want to talk about so what are splits? It's how often you work out.
And what you work out.
And then what you work out during that time you're working out. We've done bro splits and we've done full body splits. And there's a lot of reasons why you would do a split. Number one is recovery. How often you train a muscle, how fast it recovers is going to be the first determining factor on what split that you choose. The second is going to be the time and what you do in your life. So if you have a super busy schedule, you might not be able to do 5 days a week. Maybe you will. Maybe a full body split's more is better for you. So recovery is number one, and then lifestyle is number two. Okay, yeah. So for instance, bro splits, they work. Full body splits, they work. You're not going to really. There's not a lot of splits that don't work so long as you're putting the effort in hardcore, going to failure, and really tapping each muscle out.
So I'm going to take on
every muscle. Every
splits.
muscle can work.
I think that,
or every split can work.
Yeah, they can absolutely get gains. I think that for a person who's just getting to know their body, the advantage of going to a bro split is you're going to be focusing on one muscle group, usually an isolation movement. And that's going to cause you to bond with that specific muscle.
That's a really good point.
Over time, right?
Yep.
So because when it comes time to do compound lifts, or say, for instance, some of the more advanced splits like full body, Joe and I do a full body split Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. What's going to happen is your whole body is going to be incredibly fatigued at the end of that full body split. Midway through, actually, you're pretty gassed. So you're going to have a lot of mental acuity to stick with it and be focused and not hurt yourself.
And you guys putting in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because for Joe and I specifically, when I come out of the gym, my cognitive function is depleted. And just so you know, every time we do a podcast, it's pretty much right after a gym and a giant meal. So you're only getting I'm lost 25, 30 IQ at least. So I'm that's probably a good thing. Maybe I'll be smarter. I don't know. Today is different. I'm sick today, but the idea is you're sort of integrating yourself you're introducing yourself to your body. So I think that bro splits are a really good place to start, especially if you haven't been athletic.
Let's give an example.
A bro split, like a typical example, is like push-pull. All right, so you can just go into the gym. If you're doing a compound thing like bench or something like that, you're just going to do that. Probably some guys even have a more dialed back bro split where they just do like push or they just do pull. I think
the typical bro split's like chest, legs,
day, right? Yeah,
arms, shoulders, and then you kind of repeat it or
maybe separate them
right.
by day.
He's like 5 days a week.
I do a 6-day push pull legs twice a week. So Monday, actually I don't do it in that order. I do legs push pull. So Monday, I'm
start
doing
fresh
legs
with the legs.
Yeah,
right? Yep.
And I do legs on Monday, and I usually focus like a portion of the push pull or legs. So on Mondays I'm focusing quads on my legs.
Right.
And then my second leg day I'll be focusing hamstrings and glutes.
Right.
And then same with on chest day or push day, on the first push day I'm doing chest and triceps focus. And then on the second chest day I'm doing chest and shoulders.
Oh, okay.
And then it's kind of similar on back.
And with these bro splits, you can pre-exhaust.
Because your back's very similar. You have like your upper back and then you have your lower back. So you can train like your upper back one day and then you can do like just lat
pull downs on one day and then more rows on the other day.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's also complex muscle group, just like the legs where it's like, dude, you can split those up between 2 days.
Yeah.
Definitely. And how long are your workouts, Mike?
Like usually an hour to hour and 15.
Hour and 15, 6 days a week.
Yeah,
6 days a week, right?
And
so you have one rest day. That's Sunday.
It's more than one rest day because if you think about it, on Saturdays I usually work out earlier in the day. So I have the rest of Saturday, full day Sunday, and then I'm not actually starting my routine again until Monday night.
Oh,
so okay, so it's almost 2 days.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of full rest.
Almost 2 days.
How long you been doing that?
Probably for a couple years now.
Did you ever try any other splits that weren't like beyond sort of a bro split or any of the
I was doing actually when I was really trying to put on weight and build my legs, I was doing actually legs 3 days a week.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot.
And I was doing the similar split on
Were you
like
getting
one day
sore
was,
every day?
one
doing
was
that?
quads, one was hamstrings and glutes, and then the third leg day I would kind of be like, where am I not sore?
Yeah, man.
But that's the thing too with that's where your body will adapt to some of the things. Like the first time you crush a leg day, you are going to be
Oh,
sore probably
dead.
for 4 days.
Yeah, get those
and then
dogs.
as you
Afraid to take a
as-
dump.
Yeah. So as your muscles become more adapted to your routine, I think the DOMs kind of get better.
Yeah.
from my experience.
For sure.
So yeah,
For
like
sure.
early on crushing leg days, man, you're wrecked for
Pure-
like 3-4 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just months of pain.
And so over time, that your resistance builds up to that.
Yeah, which is another cool point. Because your resistance will, as you master an exercise, Joe and I always tell people, sometimes you'll see somebody going to the gym, they'll do one kind of a bicep curl, and then they'll do a different one the next time. They're adhering to a bro split, but their exercises are changing every time they go to the gym. I'm not necessarily a big advocate for that. I think what you should do is master one exercise for a span of like 4 to 6 months. And then what you've done is that plane of motion has become second nature to you. So you can really get into the zone of failure on your bro split or whatever you're doing and maximize your gains with that specific exercise. They've done studies where they've done different kinds of, say, bicep curls and stuff like that. And they're not necessarily activating the muscle in a completely different way. But what happens is after that 4 to 6 months is you're going to be more interested in trying to keep things fresh. So at that point, once you've mastered it, you want to keep yourself interested in going to the gym. Try out a different exercise once you've mastered it. Because if you're constantly changing exercise, you're not going to be able to focus on that specific plane of motion that's associated with that particular machine or that kind of curl or whatever kind of movement you're using to fatigue the muscle.
Let's
Right.
talk about the volume of like, so for you guys, if you're doing chest or arms, how many different exercises are you doing on that arm?
Well, with
Or
our,
on the
do you want
chest.
to take this one, Joe?
Well, typically, so John and I are on a 3-day split. So we do Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday. And Monday and Wednesday are pretty much identical. They're both, we start off with legs. We'll do 2 exercises of legs. Similar to what you do is on Monday, we'll focus on hamstrings, and then Friday will be more quads. And then after we're done with 2 exercises on legs, we go to 2 exercises of back and then 2 exercises of chest. And then on Wednesday, it's more like arms and shoulders. And then we will sometimes add in some hamstrings and some stuff like that. Reverse hyperextensions, reverse hypers. But we usually take it two exercises to begin with, 3 to 4 sets. And most of those sets, we work up to a working set, which is what we call like our high intensity set. So most of those, like the 2 to 3 sets that are building up to that 4th set are usually warm-ups. Now, we do go to failure on a lot of those, like where we're definitely pushing it. But the first 2 are usually getting acquainted with the movement, warming up the CNS. This is what we're doing, even if we've done it a bunch of times, and getting the whole body, figuring out what's wrong. We have an injury here, what's going on, working around certain things to build the intensity up for that last set where you're really putting 110% into that last set and really killing it as hard as you possibly can. And that volume will be usually anywhere from the warm-up sets will be anywhere from 20 to 30 reps. I mean, 12 to 20 to 30 reps, depending on the muscle group. If it's shoulders, if it's arms, it could be in the 30s easily. Legs can go anywhere up to the 20s. Back, definitely going to the 20s. Chest to the 20s. We'll be warming up within that frame. And then as we progress sets, the volume comes down. Working sets can be anywhere from 6 to 12 reps, depending on the muscle group and what we're doing. If we're doing like really heavy legs, sometimes it'll be 6. Sometimes we'll go for more volume, go even up to 15 on like a heavy working set, depending on if we want to put blood in the muscle or just go for like a heavier set for hypertrophy. Because you can get hypertrophy from 6 to 12 to 30 reps. Really, it's about failure and about how hard you push on that last set. So if you're going for a bunch of weight and you're really pushing hard, you're going to get there. It's almost harder when you have less weight because you have to really dig deeper into failure longer. So it's like you have to feel the burn a lot longer. You have to go into pain state a lot longer than if you go with the heavier weight. Yeah. So our volume kind of fluctuates depending on what we're doing.
I would say an important thing if you're just getting into lifting is to do your favorite body part. Do your favorite body part, get accustomed to bringing that muscle group to failure. and then integrate some of the more body parts you have less of a relationship with. For males, it's usually the posterior chain. And so always be careful when you start to do failure with a muscle group you don't have good muscle-mind connection with. Like if it's your glutes or your hamstrings and your lower back is taking up a lot of that movement because you don't know how to activate those muscles, you're going to get injuries pretty quick. So just start with something you really like. Build your bro split around that. If you're a beginner, if you're like a really good lifter and you've been in the gym for, say, 2 or 3 years, you want to focus on those muscle groups that you don't understand that well. And like Mike does and like we do, we start our weeks with legs because we want our split to be, focused on the freshest body part, the weakest body part first, right? So that fresh body part is going to get all of the blood, most of the glycogen, and a lot of the focus. So start to open up your weeks that way, open up your routine with that freshness so you can really push that body part and make it grow if that's what you want to do. And for anybody who's been doing it for a long time and they're looking for something different, absolutely change your splits, change some of your exercises. There's some guys who have the opposite problem of the one I described before where they don't want to experiment with new exercises. And what happens is they're just rushing through, getting a specific number, and they're not really going to failure. So you need to sort of encourage the mind when you're in the gym so that it can take interest in what you're doing. And many times that's changing an exercise, maybe going to a different gym. If you need to go to a different gym, you're honestly kind of a pansy. Like just you should be in there because you're in there. Like my dream is to have a gym where I can blast my metal and my underpants, sweating in my own place, be a total caveman, primal, insane pile. That's what I like. But and that's what you should want to do because you're in your zone. You're connecting to your body. So that's I think another issue that I see with splits for some of the more advanced guys, kind of like what I'm hearing you do right now. We hear this guy his name is Jerry Brainium on the he's a great dude. He talks old school. He's there around Arnold's time, and he has the Metabolic Journal, I believe it's called, and he talks about quite a few cool things. And a cool split that no one really talks about, it's kind of Mike Menser, like the HIIT routine, which is high intensity training. A lot of guys who don't have a lot of time, if they're very careful with their warm up, they can reach these really intense failures, get out of the gym in 40 minutes, and they're still getting amazing, gains. And so if you're really, really experienced, you're not worried about going to Snap City and messing up something, you have really good form, you can lift really heavy and get to like a really intense place to try and, push your system to grow, especially when you've tried all of those tricks in your bag already. You want to try something new, and it sounds like that's what you're trying right now, Mike. Is that what you're into as far as your splits? You got a training partner that's pushing you to do some heavy stuff?
Yeah, and that is a good point on having a training partner. I think when you are there by yourself, you tend to probably be a little more lax than what you could be. So when you have someone there pushing you, especially on the exercises that you need a spotter, like if you're out there doing chest, let's say you're doing bench press,
which is a guillotine.
You can't really go to your max failure because you're gonna get in trouble. So when you have that spotter to push you and catch you if you need, that helps you then hit the extra failure reps. And then like right now, I'm working out with my buddy Stacy, and he is stronger and more knowledgeable than me. So every time I'm there, I'm either learning some new exercise with him or I'm getting stronger because of him. So
right on.
I think having working out with someone above you is a nice thing to help.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, Joe pushes me to do stuff that, it's cool because he has the same body as me in many ways. So, like, I'll see him do an exercise, and you have to jump in and do the same exercise right after. And so it's almost like, just gyms have mirrors, which are great. You need to use your mirrors. Like, if you are, especially stuff for compound movements and things, look at your back, make sure your bracing is good, your bones are where they need to be, and you're not like killing your joints where your bones or your muscles should be taking over. Use the mirrors to do that. But if you have somebody to look at, you're going to just do that same exercise. Like, look at them do it, man. Look at how they're doing it. So many times I've seen my brother do something and it's helped me take something out that was inhibiting me. If it's foot placement with like a hack squat, or understanding how to like open your hips in a certain way. You'll have these weird things that are just in you, and you have to try and work them out as you become more and more, as you understand your body more and get better at the technique. So a lifting partner is good for that too.
Another thing I was thinking about as far as splits, is there a difference in how you would approach them on someone who's trying to build, like say athletic strength versus like we're kind of more bodybuilders. We're building for shape reasons, frankly. What do you think about that?
Of course. Horses for courses. What are you trying to do? Trying to be an athlete, trying to be a football player, basketball, endurance athlete. There's all different training for all different systems. Like, you're going hard for cardio, it's endurance. Your diet's going to be totally different. Your split's going to be totally different. Bodybuilding specifically is what we're focusing on today. Hypertrophy, the packing on of muscle onto your frame, of lean muscle mass. And that's why I think most all these splits do work, and they can work. The main thing is recovery. Being able and what you can do often and make implement into your work week so that you're not splitting it up all the time, doing something different every single week. And like John said, important thing is if you are beginning, try the bro splits simply because you're going to focus on one muscle group every single workout. You can build your mind muscle connection. You can really focus on like what movements work well for you, why they work well, that feeling. You can build that to where maybe you could do like a full body split like we do now, where I can actually go into 2 exercises. I know what those exercises are very well. I've done them for over 10 years. So now I know I can hit failure on them and really nail out 3 different, my whole body within one day. Whereas I wouldn't recommend that necessarily for someone who's just beginning.
Yeah.
Even though you will get great results with a full body split as a beginner, and they do oftentimes recommend that. So, I mean, they can work. But the most important part is getting that mind-muscle connection, knowing your body, figuring out those exercises really well with good form. And a lot of people don't talk about how much they always want to peg more weight on, but you can also peg more form on.
Yeah.
Always.
Or slow the speed down.
Yeah, you can really,
And up the
tempo
rep.
is huge. Eccentrics, concentrics, how long you're doing on your eccentric, which you had given me an article like a couple weeks ago, which is really cool about it. That sometimes those really slow ones don't really do much.
Aren't
Right?
as- they aren't as. And I think you'll see too in the gym with bodybuilders. Sometimes the biggest guys at the gym are lifting the lightest weights.
Yeah.
You'll sit there seeing, the big guy that's 220, they're curling in like a 20.
Yeah.
Hitting a ton of reps on it because that's effective.
That's a
It
big
is
point
effective.
too. Is like
Very
weight
effective.
depending on your volume. It's not necessarily a splits question, but I
Yeah.
guess it kind of falls
Yeah, we are
into
going
it.
down a couple rabbit
Yeah,
holes.
I would say because that's really cool. You're going to have different muscle fibers, right? You have the type A or the type 2, and they're made specifically for either endurance or lifting heavy weights. So like that guy, the big guy who might have a lot of endurance strands, like that's where he's going to get his growth. Versus a guy who like he could lift the weight, 20, 30 times, he's not going to get growth because he might have a lot of short strands in his muscle. And so that's where you're going to be paying attention to your splits. Like if as far as volume goes, like, do I really need to do all this volume? Maybe my body needs heavier weights and lower reps.
Well, Pavlov did a really interesting experiment on it, and they did like all kinds of different training for hypertrophy, like the progressive overload. They did 80 percentile failures. They did like 40%. Of your workload, and they figured out what the best way is, what they call like it's wave training. So basically it's hitting all the volumes, every workout, and you don't even have to work to like an 80 or 90%, even though if you can, it's good. But I like what John was saying, the Menser style training, if you do that for 6 months, your joints are going to be fire.
toasted.
Your tendons are going to be
something
in
to
pain.
do for like a month or 2 at most.
It's good to throw it in, but I think the main point to extract from Pavlov studies was do the wave training where it's all those things. It's all the rep range.
Yeah, and that's
all the
that's
volume.
the starting point for
Yeah.
anybody. Is like try a split that works for you. If you haven't tried a certain split but you're super comfortable, recognize it's time for you to move on. You've done 5 months of the specific split. Do a new split, see how your body reacts. Splits are your friend. They're not one that's the best. There's not one that's not. If you have an injury, you're going to be forced to do a certain split, right? Because that certain muscle group's off limits. So have fun interpreting what that's particular split can do for you. And keep a journal with your splits if you have the time. I keep one in my phone. It gives me the ability to know what's working and when I get weaker, and identify what split is working, because you can't just walk in the gym and be like, I feel really good today. Well, you may have talked to your girlfriend about something. It may have been your birthday. You don't know why. Those numbers won't lie, and you'll be able to tell what those splits have done. And I'll also tell you how long you've been doing the splits. Was it 2 months? Was it 4 months? Yeah, it was 4 months. You know that. Now it's time to change. So good point for you is have fun with them. Splits are your friend. They're a good thing to do.
And pick something that just like works for you too. Like if you can go to the gym 6 days a week like me, split it up. But ultimately, you want consistency. So if you're sticking to a schedule or a system that is not going to work for you long term, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler does it. I
Or
got to do
Ronnie
it.
Coleman. He never changed his exercises. He was one of those like set it and don't fix what's not broken.
That's kinda how I am, too.
Yeah,
It
Like,
worked for him.
Worked
Yeah,
for him.
It works for me too.
You know,
like,
for
I
me,
mean,
I would go insane. I'd like need to try something new
You
after
just gotta
6
change
months.
your music. That's
Yeah, maybe.
Change your music.
Keep your
Change
sanity.
your training, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
There's
always good.
tons of things you can do to
Can
keep
always
things
learn
fresh,
something.
right?
Yeah.
You know, you have to do it. But I think
a good
as far as like your own body, that whole dialogue, that's what we do in the gym. You know, we're listening to that feedback.
All splits work.
Yep.
Yeah.
They all work, guys.
Just get to the gym.
Get to the gym consistently.
Oh yeah, I guess one thing is important is placing your split. You know, like for if you're a dude, your test is going to be higher in the morning. So if you can get in there in the morning, you're going to be maximizing your sort of endocrines. Whatever your test is going to be to your advantage. Not to say that
They
night
actually
workouts
debunked
or anything
that.
like that.
They actually debunked that.
Did they?
Yeah, it's not like super high. In fact, you can get your test. It kind of like goes up and down throughout the day. They used to think it was higher in the mornings, and I
That's
can
what I've
I
heard.
can
Same with growth
verify this.
hormone too, right?
That's what I've heard
Well,
all
yeah,
the
growth
time.
hormones
yeah.
at night when you sleep most of the time. But yeah, I can actually verify this because I had my last blood test. I would take them every time at like 9 o'clock, and my test was like 420 or 430, some garbage number, dude. And I was already taking the last two were like 700 or 800, and then I looked it up, and yeah, it's been debunked. It's more about when you feel like you should train. Like, don't wake up at 6 o'clock if you're not a morning person and go hit the weights.
Yeah.
Do it at 6 o'clock in the evening if that's when you're ready to train.
Yeah.
So it's more about that because your test does go up and down all day.
Yeah, I heard
Figured
something.
that out.
I was caught up in that. I'll have to look into that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, actually,
That's
it's your boy Brainium brought it up.
really your test.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, then I guess that doesn't matter. As long as you're feeling up to the challenge, do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, that's what I'm doing next.
Right
All
on.
right.
Go in there and kill it.
What are you training today?
Chest and shoulders.
Lucky.
It's a fun day.
What
Yeah.
are you doing? So how many exercises and what are you doing volume wise?
I usually will. I'll be training with my buddy today, so I'll probably let him lead. But I usually do probably like 3 of each.
So 6 total
Um,
exercises.
But
4
that
sets.
would be I do a warm up first, just to get everything warmed up, and then I usually do probably 3 to 4 of each, different exercises.
Nice.
But the number of sets will just kind of depend. I don't have written down like I'm doing 4 sets of this. I just kind of like gas myself out on one exercise. I'm like, okay, the next one now.
So it could be 2 sets.
No, 3. I would say 3 would be minimum.
Okay, so
You know,
it could be
what's your-
5.
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Five.
All right.
Five's a
Okay.
lot. That's amazing.
I can't remember the last time I did 5 sets.
Me neither.
Anything. Well, no, drop sets I do. So it
Yeah.
kind of does apply at the end. That is like a 5th set.
For sure. Yeah. So consistency, have fun, and try new things. And if you're, Ronnie Coleman, then no one can argue with you.
Just full of PEDs.
Yeah.
Lightweight, baby.